Welcome to part 3 of our live training session here with our 2011 Evo 10 MR. In our last tutorial, we focused on idle and part throttle cruise calibration process. This tutorial, we're going to focus on doing our full throttle calibration process. This is going to be off the wastegate actuator level. We're going to be taking a look at how to dial in our fuel, our spark, our MIVEC, variable cam timing, making sure that the knock control looks like it's satisfied. We're not getting kind of knock conditions. We have a lot to cover in our full throttle calibration process. Let's jump in so we can check this out. Welcome back to our live training session here with our Evo 10 MR. Now, the last tutorial, we focused on getting our idle and part throttle nailed down. We have our fuel trims in line, our load is tracking correctly for both map and map calcs. Everything looks good. Now we're ready to do our first pull or start our wide open throttle pulls off of our wastegate actuator level. So we need to get our fuel and spark timing and our MIVEC variable cam mapping all nailed down before we look at dialing in our boost control or before we look at going in and doing flex fuel tuning. So we still have a couple tutorials left here. This is going to be focusing on full throttle tuning off of the lowest boost that we can possibly build, which will be your wastegate spring level if you have an external wastegate, or your actuator spring pressure level. In this case, we have a GTX 3576R Gen 2 from ATP Turbo. It has an 18 to 19 pound actuator spring installed in the internal wastegate actuator assembly. So we should see that as our baseline. Now, let's talk about where we're at in terms of what we've prepped our file for so that when we go into our full throttle tuning, things are going to be safe and we can start getting things sorted out. So first thing I want to talk about is the actual boost control. If we go here under turbo, we're going to find in a reactive table, we've zeroed out all of the duty cycle output to the 3-port boost solenoid that we have installed onto the wastegate assembly. So essentially we're going to be running our actuator pressure. We've zeroed out the duty cycle, and if we go here under our direct boost, we've also set the boost targets to something right around where the actuator is rated at. I've set it to 20 pounds right here, so from 4,000 and above, probably realistically where the turbo is going to spool, I've set that to 20 pounds. So I've set my target boost, we've zeroed out our duty cycle, so we know on the boost control side of things, we should be riding right at that actuator pressure level. So just getting ourselves prepared. The other few things that I've done, and when we build our base map, we accounted for all this. Let's jump into our timing and our high octane spark timing table. From about 160 load and higher, we went in here and really detuned the values from the stock values. Now, I don't know where the spark timing is going to be at exactly. We're going to sort that out by bumping the timing in and watching our knock control. But we need to make sure for the first pull or two, we're going to be focusing on dialing our fuel in. We need to make sure the fuel isn't too rich, it's not too lean, it's hitting the desired target air fuel that we're specifying in our high octane open loop table. Now, once we've dialed our fuel in, then we can come back in here and start to bump the timing in. This serves as two different types of aspects. One, it allows us having conservative lower spark timing in here in our higher load ranges or higher boost ranges that we're going to be seeing here. It's going to allow us to dial the fuel in safely, and then it's also going to allow us to validate the knock sensor calibration. Now, the knock sensor is going to feed back to the ECU if there's knock activity. Now, if there's knock activity, we'll see knock retard, or in this case, knock count. Enough knock counts can lead to a knock retard and pull timing. We want to make sure, because we've changed a lot of parts on the engine here, that the knock calibration is still going to be valid, that we don't have to detune it or change it. So what I'm going to do is start off with low timing, allowing me to put myself into conditions where I'm not going to have knock or have very little chance for the engine to knock. So we've bumped the timing down. The power is going to be much less than what it should be. That's fine. We're not worried about that right now. We're worried about our fuel delivery, getting that sorted, making sure that the knock sensor calibration looks good. If we're seeing that we have no knock when we have low spark timing like this, and as we bump the spark timing in, we're starting to get knock activity, well, that would be considered, or could be considered potentially, real knock. So this is giving us a way that we can kind of baseline the engine, see where we're at, see what the knock profile looks like using our knock control data that we can log in our Evo scan, and then get a feel for things and then make adjustments from there and just make a better educated decision as what do we want to go in and change. Do we need to go and desensitize the knock sensor tables? Do we need to go in and potentially pull more timing? What do we need to do? So this is going to give us a baseline. That's where we're at in terms of our calibration file. So we should be good to go to do our first pull because we're set up for the boost control properly and we have our spark timing set conservatively. Now, I did copy my values from my high octane table into my low octane table for both the timing here and for both the fuel, so the high and low octane target air fuel maps. So we've set those up under our boost here. We're finding I'm targeting at our higher load, 11.4. I'm tapering back to 11.0 here at the very high RPM to avoid knock on pump gas. The Evo 10 motors seem to run a little bit richer on the top end. It just quenches or dissipates any of the knock activity that I've seen. So I like to do that, so I'm able to sneak in a little bit more timing, running a little bit richer mixture in the fuel for the target here. We're going to try to meet this target by dialing in our calibration fuel map. Now, we may have to adjust either the map or the map calcs to get things in line as we're dialing some things in here, and we'll talk about that as we do our pool and look at our data. We also have to factor in that this is an SST transmission. It has the dual clutch transmission. The reported load that's coming from our calcs, so the map and MAF calcs, that can drive up or down the clutch pressures on our SST transmission. So we're going to be looking for the clutch slip during a pull. We don't want to see any more than 10% slip. If we do see more than 10% slip, we need additional clamping pressure from the clutch pressure being ramped up. So we're going to be logging our clutch pressures. We're going to be monitoring where that's going to be at, making sure that they're looking good, that the clutch slip is going to be good. If we see any kind of odd activity, we might have to adjust some things, and we'll talk about that at that point in time. But let's just kind of go with what we have here as our baseline. We've made all those changes in the base map creation, so we should be good to go. Let's jump into your Evo scan and limits. Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here, and you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.